Okay, so I was on this website talking about the political compass test and mentioned a few alternatives. One of which was, and this was completely accidental, the one I did yesterday. And it was this one called Spekr, which is made by a narco-capitalist with the intent of making you into the anarcho-capitalist, whether you want to be one or not, through absurdly loaded questions. Okay, well, let's see some of these. Each individual enjoys bodily autonomy and has rights that no other individual or group may violate. Strongly agree, of course, I think that. Individuals have the freedom to decide. As you see, there are 100 questions here, so this should take a while. And I love doing these videos. I love, in general, just talking about a variety of subjects. Individuals have the freedom to decide whether or not they want to knowingly. Of course they do strongly agree. Slavery isn't acceptable in certain circumstances, such as punishment for crime. No, it isn't. Freedom of expression should be unhindered by government regardless, and of course it should. Hate speech should be banned. Oh no. The control of communication by government is necessary so as to prevent the spread of ideas that may undermine the. Oh, strongly disagree. Provision of the internet should be socialized and made available free of charge. Of course it should. Strongly agree. People should be free to engage or abstain from religious activities that do not violate the rights of others. Of course they should. Blasphemy laws should be no, they shouldn't. That's really stupid. Government action should neither aid nor attack any religion. Disagree. If your religion is genuinely bigoted, then yeah, it should be attacked. Religion organizations should not be exempt from taxation. Strongly agree. You have nothing to fear if you have no, it isn't. It's a really stupid statement. Government transparency is vital to ensuring accountability. Of course it is. Government surveillance should be extended. No, we have too much as it is right now. People should be secure in their person, home, property, and communities. Of course they should. In order to solve crimes, the police need the power to conduct searches. No, they don't. That's a flat-out lie. They don't. Sexual orientation, preference, or gender identity should have no impact on the government. Of course it should. Government should not have the authority to define, license, or restrict personal relationships. Yes, that's true. I strongly agree. Consenting adults should be free to choose their own sexual practices and personal relationships. Of course they should. Abortion should be regulated by government. Yes. Well, what do they mean by regulation? Depends on the regulation they're talking about. I'm just gonna put normal disagree. Criminal law should be limited to the violation of the rights of others through force or fraud. Yeah, I strongly agree with that. No crime, no victim is a valid statement. Of course it is. You can also see how I'm going here in the Spekr beta. Banning medical and restrictive drugs should remain illegal. No, they shouldn't. Police, fire, and ambulance services should be provided by the market. Yeah, of course they should. Individuals who voluntarily assume risks of physical harm to themselves are selfish and inconsiderate, so no. Restrictions should be paid to the victim at the expense of the criminal or negligent wrongdoer. Yeah, strongly agree. I know I'm not going into much detail here, but we got 100 questions to get through, so, rights such as due process and the presumption of innocence are relics of a past and only interfere with obtaining criminal victims. No, they aren't. That's stupid. Juries should be able to judge not just the facts of the case, but also the justice of the law. No. I think that judges have biases, and so do juries. They should be able to simply say, okay, you go to jail, but they shouldn't be able to regulate the time. Okay. Dispute resolutions cannot be effectively provided by the market and thus regarded. Yeah, some should. I agree with that. Prisoners, prisons that they currently exist should be abolished. Disagree. I think we need prisons. The only legitimate use of force to defend security. Oh yeah, that's very true. All people have the right to self-defense. Of course they do. Individuals do not have the right to keep and bear arms. No, that's wrong. People should be prosecuted for exercising their right to self-defense. You just asked that question. The answer was no. Private property owners should be free to set their own rules, regulations, and percentage of assault weapons. I agree with that, usually. I don't see that as an economic thing. Government should restrict, register, and moderate the ownership, manufacture, and transfer of firearms. Yes, they should. They should regulate it, get tax dollars from it. I'm going to put regular agree because it might not be the way they're talking. Okay, that took a few too many. Respect for private property rights is a fundamental maintain. That's of course. We're just going to put normal agree because I'm genuinely. It depends on what we're respecting. Contracts to obtain, remain, profit from, and manage or disposable of one's private property should be regulated by the government. Yeah, I agree with that. Private property owners have the right to control and enjoy their property so long as their choices do not harm and infringe. Oh, yeah, that's the whole point of a free society. The practice of eminent domination and civil aspect forfeit should be abolished. I have no clue. In order to protect the poor from rich, limited profit, and control the prices of goods. Oh, yeah. For voluntary dealing, parties should be free to trade with whom they want mutually and agree. Yeah, I agree with that. Private landowners do not have an incentive to maintain natural resources and as such need regulated by the government. I disagree. I think people who make bad business decisions should simply go out of business. Government pollutes and misuses resources more than businesses, causing damage to the environment, and are unaccountable for such damages. No, they are not unaccountable. That's really stupid. Protection of the environment requires resources like land and common private ownerships be restricted. These things, no. Other things, yes. The profit motivate. Well, wait, let's go back, actually. They want to see, should they be restricted? The answer is yes. The profit motive stills the innocent. I have no clue. I think it's just changes required to protect. The profit motives. I have no clue what that word is. The innovation and behavioral changes required to protect the environments require intervention in the market. Yes. Environmental advocates and social pressures are more effective means of changing public behavior than government action. Of course they are. Subsidies for energy production should be abolished. No, they shouldn't. Energy pricing, allocation, and production are too important to be left in the market. I tend to agree with that. People who think they are entitled to keep what they earn are merely being selfish. Depends on how they got it. I'm just going to put normal disagree. Taxation is the price we pay for a civilization is a valid statement. Yes, it is. Government budgets should be balanced by corroborating expenditures and not by raising taxes. I agree. I think taxes should be a last resort. I think taxes are a necessary evil. I think we need them, but we shouldn't need them as all that much. People should be free to choose which products and services. Yes, they should. Free market banking with competitive among banks and disposable institution of all types is preferable to a system controlled by banks. I tend to disagree. Profits and losses should be socialized. No. Individuals who engage in voluntary exchange should be free to use their money in mutually agreement. Yes, they should. Inflation, monetary policies, or legal tender laws should be abolished. No. Money should be abolished. No. Individuals have the right from corporations, cooperatives, and other types of entities based on voluntary association. Of course they do. Private ownership of the means of product should be abolished. No, it shouldn't. Subsidies and bailouts to business, labor, and other special interests should be abolished. Yeah, I think it should. Bailouts should be abolished. Public entities should be able to compete with private ones. Of course they should. Employment and cooperation. Conversational agreement between employers and employees are private and should not be encompassing. No, that's stupid. Private employers and employees should be required by law to bargain with each other through a labor union. Not through a labor union, but they should be required to bargain. Membership in labor union should be required for obtaining employment. No. Compulsory obligation and obligation to bargain are necessary to ensure that bosses do not exploit their workers. Of course they are. Provision of education should be socialized, and of course it should. Education is best provided by the free market. No. The education of a child, financial, not the government. I'll tend to agree, and unless it's under very specific circumstances. Health insurance companies exploit the sick. Oh yeah. Individuals should be free to determine the level of health insurance they want, if any. I think they should. Yeah. Healthcare should be provided by. No. No, I disagree with that statement. Suicide and euthanasia should be legal. Of course they should. Provision of healthcare should be socialized and made available free of charge. Of course it should. Not all individuals will take responsibility for planning their retirement, and that's their fault. Socialized welfare programs should be phased out and replaced with private voluntary systems. I tend to disagree with this. Most people will not voluntarily help the poor. Of course they won't. Charities and civil societies will weaken if government does not take the power to direct such activities. Of course it will. In order to preserve global stability, the government needs to embrace foreign policies. They split the world. No, they don't. Service in the military should be compulsory. No. Rights are not. No, they shouldn't be suspended in the slightest. If you agree with that, you are wrong. Or if you disagree with that, you are wrong. Intelligence agencies will be obstructed from preserving security if they were subject to oversight and transparency. No, if anything, it would help them. Government should not use secret classification to keep information. Of course they shouldn't. Foreign policy should seek to keep a nation in its position of strength and relevance to other nations. I have no clue. I'll tend to agree with that. Foreign policy should emphasize defense against attacks from abroad and enhancing the likelihood of peace by avoiding foreign enlightenment. I have no clue what any of that means. Foreign innovation, including military and economic aid, are necessary for preserving the security of a nation. No, they aren't. All people have the right to resist tyranny. Of course they do. Impediment for free trade should be abolished. No, it's up to those people if they want to trade freely. Political freedom and escape from tyrannical demand that individuals not be unreasonably constructed in crossing of borders. No. Trade should be regulated by the government. Of course it should. Economic freedom demands that the unrestricted movement of humans as well as financial capital across national borders. I think the question is basically asking, do you support open borders? The answer is no. I think open borders are stupid. All people are born with. Oh yeah, of course they are. Some rights can impose an obligation upon others to fulfill that. I guess. I just don't see it as a bad thing. Government should neither deny nor abridge human rights based upon the biological characteristics of them. Of course they shouldn't. Members of private organizations can set the standards to associate individuals are free to respond with organization of boycott. Yeah, I think that's true. Parents and other guardians have the right to raise their child according to their own standards and beliefs. What are those standards or beliefs? Parents should. Okay, yeah, no, that's stupid. Without the state, there would be chaos and disorder. I guess that's true. It is the right of every individual to resist tyranny and abolish it. Replace it with a... Of course it is. The state should be abolished. I tend to disagree. You support balance of both economic freedom and alongside light restriction of cultural freedom. You oppose economic declaration and any reduction in taxes. Okay, that's interesting. So yeah, that's what I got on this test. I'm Cifro Joe, and good night.